The signal and response. The signal came at 3:17 Earth Standard Time, rippling through the quantum receivers at Deep Space Monitoring Station Omega. Lieutenant Maya Chen had been halfway through her coffee when the alert flashed across her screen. The pattern was unlike anything in their database, a repeating mathematical sequence that couldn't possibly be natural. "Control, this is Chen at Station Omega. I'm picking up something unusual," she said, her voice steady despite the adrenaline surge that had instantly sobered her. She initiated the first contact protocols that had been gathering dust for decades. Within hours, the brightest minds of Earth's Science Directorate were analyzing the signal. Dr. Elijah Santos, head of Xenolinguistics, hadn't slept in 36 hours when he finally called the emergency council meeting. "It's definitely a distress call," he announced to the packed situation room, his eyes red-rimmed but bright with excitement. "From a species calling themselves the Luminous. Their star system is under attack by something they call the Harvesters." Admiral Kenzo Nakamura, commander of Earth's Defense Fleet, leaned forward. "Where are they located? How much time do they have?" A holographic star map materialized above the conference table, highlighting a star system nearly 8 light-weeks away, even with humanity's most advanced drives. "The message is already 3 weeks old," Santos replied grimly. "They're losing planets daily." The room fell silent. Humanity had known for centuries they weren't alone in the galaxy. Small contacts with alien traders had occurred, but most kept their distance. Earth's high gravity, intense radiation, and extreme weather had created humans that other species considered dangerous and unpredictable. In galactic terms, Earth was classified as a death world, and its inhabitants were viewed with a mixture of fear and respectful distance. General Aisha Okafor of the African Continental Command stood up. "Why should we risk our ships and people? Most species treat us like savages or potential threats." "Because that's who we are," said Captain Elena Reyes, the youngest person ever to command a battlecruiser in Earth's hidden fleet. "We don't ignore calls for help." The debate raged for hours. Political representatives argued about exposing Earth's true military capabilities. For over a century, humanity had let the galaxy believe they were less advanced than they truly were. The Deathworlder label had provided a useful shield during their rapid expansion and military development. Finally, Admiral Nakamura silenced the room with a sharp gesture. "Enough. I've made my decision." He turned to Captain Reyes. "Prepare the Third Fleet. All ships, full combat load. You leave in 72 hours. 3 days later, Captain Reyes stood on the bridge of the ESV Thunderchild, Earth's newest battlecruiser. Around her, 40 major warships and over 100 support vessels prepared to jump. It was the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled outside their home system. "All ships report ready, Captain," said her executive officer, Commander Khalid Hassan. Reyes took a deep breath, thinking about the message. A peaceful species facing extinction. She thought about Earth and all the hardships that had forged humanity into what they were now. "Send a message to the Luminous," she ordered. "Tell them help is coming." She paused. "Tell them the Deathworlders are on their way." As one, the fleet engaged their fold drives, disappearing into the quantum fabric of space, leaving only stars where they had been. Humanity was going to war. The massive shipyards orbiting Mars and the Jovian moons burst into unprecedented activity. Maintenance drones swarmed like insects around dormant warships as engineers worked around the clock, their faces lit by welding sparks as they readied the reserve fleet. Captain Sophia Lynn stood in the observation deck of her heavy cruiser, the ESV Defiant. At 45, she had spent most of her career on peacekeeping missions, scientific expeditions, and the occasional pirate suppression. "Never thought I'd see this day," said a voice behind her. Lynn turned to see Marcus Rodriguez, her chief engineer, a sturdy man with calloused hands and eyes that had seen the engines of 100 ships. "The old girl's been upgraded with the latest weapon systems," he continued. "Those harvesters won't know what hit them." Lynn nodded. Let's hope it's enough. Later that day, Lin met her command crew in the tactical room. Lieutenant Commander Faisal Khan, weapons officer, had served with her for 8 years, reliable and lethal in combat simulations. Next to him sat Dr. Amara Osi, xenobiologist, brought on specifically for this mission to understand both the Luminous they were saving and the harvesters they would be fighting. The Chinese Confederation is sending 3 stealth carriers, Lin said, pointing to the fleet display. European Union destroyers will provide point defense. Pan-American medical ships will handle casualties. What about weapons? Asked Khan. Lin pressed a button, and a new hologram appeared. Standard plasma cannons and kinetic drivers, but also something new. The image showed a spherical device. These gravity disruptors were designed for mining asteroids. We've repurposed them. Dr. Osai raised her hand. Captain, do we know anything more about the Luminous? Not much. Peaceful race, advanced science, minimal military capacity. And the enemy? Lin's expression darkened. Only what was in the distress call. They stripped planets of all resources, including the inhabitants. The crew fell silent, digesting this information. 4 days later, the fleet assembled at Jupiter's L3 point, the gathering place for Earth's armada before their jump to the Luminous system. Lin watched from her bridge as ships arrived hourly. Sleek destroyers, bulky carriers painted with national insignia, medical vessels with the Universal Red Cross, and supply ships loaded with everything needed for extended warfare. Never thought I'd see something like this, whispered her communications officer, a young woman named Diana Park. Lin nodded. Let's hope the galaxy is ready to see what humans can really do. On the 5th day, Lin was summoned to the Thunderchild for a final briefing. She joined 30 other captains in a secure command center. Captain Rice looked at each of them with steel in her eyes. You've all studied the mission parameters. The Luminous are on the brink of extinction. We have one chance to save them. She activated a 3D map showing their route. We'll use the new quantum fold technology. 2 weeks in fold space, then we emerge here at the edge of Luminous territory. A science officer stepped forward. We've managed to establish limited communication with the Luminous leadership in hiding. They're surprised that humans are responding to their call. Someone laughed. That they never thought they'd be happy to see Deathworlders. Reyes silenced them with a look. This mission is about more than saving the Luminous. It's about showing the galaxy who we really are. Back on the Defiant, Lin addressed her crew over the shipwide system. In 6 hours, we depart on the most important mission in human history. The Luminous have asked for help, and we will answer. Remember your training. Remember why we fight. As the hour approached, Lin stood on her bridge, watching as one by one, status lights turned green. All systems ready, Captain, reported Khan. Lin took a deep breath. Signal the Thunderchild. The Defiant is ready. Across the vast armada, similar reports came in. Humanity's fleet minus 200 ships strong, prepared to jump into the unknown. For Earth, Lin whispered. For all of us. The order came, and as one, the fleet vanished into fold space, leaving only stars in their wake. Fold space was beautiful and terrifying. Outside the viewports of the ESV Defiant, reality twisted into impossible colors. Captain Lin had made dozens of short jumps before, but never a sustained journey like this. 2 weeks in the folded dimensions between stars. Status report, she called, her voice steady despite the strange feeling fold space always gave her. All systems nominal, Captain, responded Khan from the tactical station. Fleet integrity at 97%. 3 supply ships reported minor fold drive fluctuations but have stabilized. Lin nodded. 200 ships moving together through fold space was unprecedented. The fact that they'd only had 3 minor issues was a testament to human engineering and training. And our ETA. 13 days, 7 hours to luminous space, assuming no course adjustments. Lin rose from her command chair. Maintain course. I'll be in the strategy room. The strategy room had been converted into a war planning center. Maps of luminous space covered the walls, though most were incomplete. The latest decoded signals painted a grim picture. Dr. Osei looked up as Lin entered. "Captain, I've been studying the biological data the Luminous sent. They're fascinating creatures." "Tell me something useful, Doctor," Lin said, not unkindly. Osei projected an image of a tall, slender being with translucent skin that seemed to pulse with inner light. The Luminous evolved on a low-gravity moon orbiting a gas giant. Their bodies produce bioluminescence, hence their name. They're physically fragile by our standards, but their scientific achievements are remarkable. "And the enemy?" Lin asked. Osei's expression darkened. "The Harvesters appear to be multiple species working as one consciousness. The Luminous described them as consuming everything in their path. They strip planets of resources and digest biological material." Lin understood the implication. They weren't just conquering, they were consuming. In the days that followed, the fleet settled into routine. Combat drills ran constantly. Engineers fine-tuned weapon systems. Medical teams prepared for casualties. Captain Lin spent her evenings reading reports and her nights trying to sleep despite the strange dreams Fold Space brought. On the 10th day, she visited the ship's mess hall, surprising off-duty crew members. "Captain on deck." Someone called. "At ease," Lin said, grabbing a tray. "I need coffee like everyone else." She sat with a group of young officers who nervously made room. "Tell me," she said, stirring her coffee, "what do you think about this mission?" A young lieutenant named Abioi spoke up. "The galaxy has always seen us as dangerous, Captain. The gravity of our world, the radiation, the predators we evolved alongside. They made us stronger than most species." Another officer nodded. "My grandmother met aliens during first contact. Said they looked at humans like we were monsters." Lin listened as they talked. The crew understood what was at stake, not just the survival of the Luminous but humanity's place in the galaxy. On the 12th day, the quantum sensors detected debris at the edge of their range. "Analysis?" Lin asked as images came through. "Luminous design, Captain," said Khan grimly. "Destroyed approximately 2 weeks ago. The Harvesters are expanding their territory." Lin hit the comm. "This is Captain Lin to all hands. We've found evidence of Luminous ships destroyed by the enemy. We're getting close. Stay alert. Stay ready." That night, Captain Rice called a virtual meeting of all ship captains. "The latest message from the Luminous indicates the Harvesters have taken 3 more systems," she said, her face grim on the screen. "Our arrival time is now critical. We'll be emerging at the edge of an active war zone. All ships are to remain at combat readiness from this point forward." As the meeting ended, Lin stared out at the twisted reality of Fold Space. Soon, they would emerge into normal space, and humanity would reveal its true strength to the galaxy, for better or worse. The Deathworlders were coming. First contact and battle. The fleet erupted back into normal space at the edge of Luminous territory. Alarms blared across the Defiant as sensors came online. "Report," Captain Lin commanded, gripping her chair as the ship stabilized. "Multiple contacts, Captain," Khan said, his fingers flying across his console. "Debris field ahead. Appears to be a recent battle site." Lin stood, staring at the view screen. The blackness of space was littered with shattered metal and frozen gases, the remains of ships destroyed in combat. "Life signs." Dr. Osei bent over her scanner. Faint readings. 1 luminous vessel still intact but heavily damaged. Approximately 18 survivors. Lin didn't hesitate. "Notify Captain Rice. We're moving to assist." She turned to her communications officer. "Send a message in the luminous language. Tell them we're human. We're responding to their distress call, and we're here to help." The Defiant broke formation, accelerating toward the damaged ship. As they drew closer, the damage became clearer. Huge sections torn away, scorch marks from energy weapons. "Prepare rescue teams," Lin ordered. Dr. Osai, you're with them. They'll need your expertise. Within an hour, the survivors were brought aboard. The Luminous were just as Dr. Osai had described. Tall, slender beings with skin that pulsed with soft blue-green light. But these were injured, their light flickering weakly. One Luminous stepped forward, moving with obvious pain. Its voice translator activated. You are humans. From Earth. Lynn nodded. I'm Captain Sophia Lynn of the Earth ship Defiant. We received your distress call. The Luminous's light pulsed in what Lynn guessed was surprise. The Deathworlders came to help us. We did not expect. We don't abandon people who need help, Lynn said simply. What happened here? The Luminous leader, who called himself Alan, explained as medical teams treated the others. This was a scientific outpost. The Harvesters attacked without warning 3 days ago. Our main fleet was destroyed weeks ago. We are losing. Ambassador Jahan Mirza arrived from the diplomatic vessel and established formal contact with the Luminous. Meanwhile, Dr. Osei examined recovered Harvester technology from the debris field. This is troubling, she told Lynn in her ready room. Their weapons are designed not just to destroy but to capture. They're collecting biological material. For what purpose? Lynn asked. Unknown, but the Luminous believe the Harvesters consume other species to evolve. The fleet remained in position as more Luminous survivors were located and rescued. Captain Rice arrived on the Defiant for a strategy meeting. The situation is worse than we thought, she said grimly. The Harvesters have taken 22 Luminous systems already. The remaining Luminous leadership is in hiding on their homeworld. Lynn studied the star map. We need to push deeper into Luminous space, establish contact with their government. Rice nodded. Agreed, but be careful. Our scout ships detected Harvester vessels at these coordinates. They don't know we're here yet, but that won't last. 2 days later, the fleet moved in formation toward the Luminous homeworld. Lynn stood on her bridge, watching as stars streaked past. Multiple contacts at extreme range, Khan suddenly called out. Configuration matches Harvester scouts. Lynn straightened. Battle stations. All hands, prepare for combat. Notify Captain Reyes. The alarm echoed through the ship as crew members raced to their positions. On the view screen, 3 alien vessels changed course, accelerating toward the human fleet. They've spotted us, Lynn said. Time to show them what Deathworlders can do. She pressed her comm. All weapon stations, prepare to fire on my mark. The Harvester ships grew larger on the screen. Strange, organic-looking vessels bristling with weapons. Humanity was about to enter its first interstellar war. For Earth, Lynn whispered, then louder, all ships, engage. The Defiant's main cannons fired first, sending lances of superheated plasma streaking through space. The other human ships followed suit, unleashing a barrage of weapons fire that lit up the darkness. The Harvesters returned fire, their strange biomechanical weapons sending pulses of green energy toward the human ships. One struck a destroyer, but its adaptive shields held. They're trying to broadcast some kind of signal to our systems, reported Diana from communications. Cyber warfare, Lynn muttered. They're in for a surprise. Earth's ships had been designed with isolated systems, a paranoid precaution that was now proving invaluable. The alien signals found no purchase in human computers. Target the lead vessel, Lynn ordered. Prepare gravity disruptors. Khan activated the newly installed weapons. Unlike conventional weapons, these didn't destroy. They warped space-time itself, creating localized gravity wells that could tear ships apart from the inside. Firing, Khan announced. There was no visible beam, no dramatic explosion, just a sudden, violent contortion of the Harvester ship as its structure collapsed inward under impossible gravitational stress. Within seconds, the vessel imploded, leaving nothing but scattered debris. The other 2 Harvester ships immediately changed course, attempting to retreat. They're running, Khan said in surprise. Not today, Lynn replied. Pursuit course. We need to capture one intact if possible. Science teams will want samples. The Defiant accelerated after the fleeing ships. Throughout the human fleet, other captains had the same idea. The ESV Agincourt, a fast attack vessel, overtook one of the harvesters and disabled its propulsion with surgical precision. The battle was over in minutes. 2 harvester ships destroyed, 1 captured. Humanity's first interstellar engagement had ended in decisive victory. Minimal damage reported across the fleet. Commander Hassan reported to Captain Reyes as the ship captains gathered virtually. No casualties. Reyes nodded. A good start. But those were only scouts. The main harvester fleet will respond soon, and they'll come in force. Dr. Osei had been examining the captured harvester ship with the science team. Her findings were disturbing. The vessel is partially organic, she reported. The harvesters don't just consume their victims. They incorporate useful biological traits into their own systems. This ship contains DNA from at least 7 different species, including the luminous. The implications were chilling. The harvesters weren't just conquerors. They were parasites on a galactic scale, evolving by stealing the biological advantages of other species. 3 days later, the human fleet arrived at the luminous homeworld, a beautiful gas giant with 7 moons, the largest of which held the remnants of luminous civilization. Orbital defenses had been all but destroyed, and signs of recent battles scared the system. The Luminous Council greeted the human delegation with a mixture of hope and disbelief. Their leader, Prime Illuminator Thela, was a tall figure whose skin glowed with patterns of shifting color. "We sent our distress call to all spacefaring species," Thela said. "None responded but you, the ones called Deathworlders." Captain Reyes stepped forward. "We prefer humans, and we couldn't ignore your call." The Luminous Scientific Director, Marin, studied the humans with undisguised curiosity. "Your physiology is remarkable. The density of your bones, the redundancy in your organs, even your psychological resilience. Your species evolved on a world that would crush most intelligent life. What you see as disadvantages, we see as strength," Reyes replied. "The harshness of Earth forged us, made us adaptable. And now, that adaptability will help us defeat the harvesters." As they spoke, the long-range sensors detected a massive energy signature entering the system. The harvester main fleet had arrived. Over 300 vessels of various sizes, all bearing down on the luminous homeworld. "They've come to finish what they started," Thela said, their light dimming with fear. "Not while we're here," Reyes replied. She activated her comm. "All ships, battle positions. This is not a drill." The human fleet took up defensive positions around the moon. Lynn returned to the Defiant, her crew at battle stations. "We're outnumbered," Khan noted as the enemy fleet approached. "But not outmatched," Lynn replied. "Remember, we're Deathworlders. We've been preparing for war since we learned to use fire." The harvester fleet entered range, and the battle began in earnest. Space lit up with weapons fire as both sides engaged. The harvesters fought with terrifying efficiency, their ships moving in perfect coordination like cells in a single organism. But humans had one advantage the harvesters hadn't anticipated: unpredictability. While the harvester fleet operated with hive-mind precision, human captains made individual decisions, creating a chaos the enemy couldn't predict. The ESV Thunderchild led a daring charge through the enemy formation, its advanced shields absorbing punishment, while its weapons tore through harvester vessels. Captain Reyes had recognized that the enemy fleet, for all its numbers, lacked tactical flexibility. "They've never fought something like us," she transmitted to the fleet. "Use that. Be unpredictable. Be human." The battle raged for hours. Human ships took damage, but their redundant systems and compartmentalized designs, born from centuries of preparing for the worst, kept them fighting long after most vessels would have been crippled. In the Defiant's medical bay, Dr. Osei had a breakthrough while studying a harvester tissue sample. "Captain," she called over the comm, Their hive mind uses a specific frequency to communicate. If we can disrupt it, you'll have it. Lin cut in. Khan, reconfigure our jammers to these frequencies. Minutes later, the Defiant began broadcasting a sophisticated interference pattern. Other human ships followed suit. The effect on the Harvester fleet was immediate and devastating. Their perfect coordination shattered as ships suddenly operated as individuals rather than parts of a whole. Now, Rise ordered. All ships concentrate fire on their command vessels. The human fleet surged forward with renewed purpose. Gravity disruptors tore Harvester ships apart from the inside. Plasma cannons burned through alien hulls. Kinetic drivers launched projectiles at relativistic speeds, turning the vacuum of space into a killing field. The Harvesters, cut off from their hive mind and facing an enemy unlike any they had encountered, began to retreat. It was not an orderly withdrawal, but a panicked flight, something the Luminous later said they had never witnessed before. As the last Harvester ships fled the system, a silence fell across the human fleet. Then, gradually, cheers erupted across communication channels. Humanity had faced its first interstellar threat and emerged victorious. On the surface of the luminous moon, representatives from both species met to discuss the future. The luminous council chamber glowed with soft light as Thela addressed the human delegation. "You have saved our species from extinction," they said, their skin pulsing with patterns that translated to profound gratitude. "The debt we owe cannot be measured." Captain Rice shook her head. "There is no debt. We answered your call because it was the right thing to do." "Nevertheless," Thela continued, "this marks a new understanding between our peoples, and perhaps a new understanding throughout the galaxy about the nature of Deathworlders." News of the battle spread quickly through interstellar communications. Species that had once regarded humans with fear or disdain now saw them in a new light, not as dangerous savages, but as powerful protectors. 3 days later, the first diplomatic vessels from other civilizations arrived in the luminous system. They came cautiously, uncertain of how to approach the humans who had accomplished what none of them had dared attempt. "They fear us less now," Ambassador Mirza noted as they watched the alien ships arrive. "But they respect us more." Captain Lin stood on the observation deck of the Defiant, watching the activity around the luminous moon. Repair vessels worked to rebuild orbital defenses. Medical ships tended to the injured. And in the distance, scout ships kept vigilant watch for any return of the Harvesters. Commander Hassan joined her, offering a cup of coffee. "What happens now, Captain?" Lin took the cup, considering the question. "Now the real work begins. The Harvesters will return, possibly with adaptations to counter our tactics. We need to prepare, not just us, but all species willing to stand against them." "A coalition," Hassan mused, "with humans as the backbone." Lin nodded. "The galaxy has changed. They called us Deathworlders because our home forged us in hardship." She gazed out at the stars, now filled with new possibilities and new dangers. "Now they'll call us something else." "What's that, Captain?" Lin smiled slightly. "Allies." As the human fleet prepared for the journey home, carrying diplomatic representatives and the beginnings of formal alliances, a message was sent to Earth from Captain Rice aboard the Thunderchild. It was brief but would be remembered for generations to come. "First contact successful. Hostile force repelled. Luminous civilization saved. Humanity has taken its place among the stars. The Deathworlders have become the defenders."